I look like a clown from hell, which is fitting because I'll be discussing the most beloved and also the most problematic couple in Helluva. Now, if you've never seen the show, it kind of doesn't, the plot of the show isn't relevant to the couple at hand. They sort of are like a, not even a B line, C line. They're like a very D line story, not wholly irrelevant to the plot at all. So we'll just be covering what's necessary for this discussion. So within this particular realm of hell, there is a hierarchy. And you can see at the very top, there are the 3 members of the royal family. And on the fourth, tied for the fourth most powerful, are the 7 deadly sins. And you can see right there, he's even on the pyramid. Asmodeus, the sin of lust, is tied for 4th. You can see the imps, and there is where we will be discussing Fizzaroli, who is at the very bottom of the tier. And if you already are looking at this tier list of the different power levels and authority levels, and you are noticing an immediate problem between the two, then that is exactly what we're going to be talking about. So, in this relationship, there is Asmodeus, who is one of the royals, one of the nobles, one of the most powerful beings out there. He is the main manufacturer and producer for different sex toys, and those sex toys do include robotic duplicates of the character Fizzaroli. Now, Fizzaroli is a clown that has mentored under Mammon, who is the sin of greed. Although he may have a clown act that he puts on, he has different performances, the real profit tends to come from the merchandise, which again is being produced by Asmodeus. Now, the real issue I have with their relationship comes from not just the hierarchical power dynamic, but there are several other aspects that I want to go into. One of them is the fact that Fizzaroli is disabled. He is completely missing all 4 of his limbs. And as someone who is myself disabled, it comes with some challenges when you are seeking out a romantic partnership, because there are actually generally people who will specifically look for disabled people or ones that they can potentially manipulate or utilize power over. For example, I use a wheelchair, I use a cane. If you take both of my mobility aids away from me, I am not going to be able to be nearly as independent as I am. Now, for someone who is like Fizzaroli, who is missing all of his limbs, if you take all 4 robotic limbs off of him, there's really not much that he can do by himself. He will be completely and utterly rendered helpless. And that is a danger that you need to consider when you are disabled and you are dating. Ideally, you wouldn't have to think about it, but that is just the world we live in. Not to mention, Fizzaroli literally lives in hell, so that's another. You're gonna have a lot of bad actors down there, is what I'm basically trying to say. And so, not only is there very clearly a different hierarchical power difference between the two, there is the fact that Asmodeus is able-bodied and Fizzaroli is disabled. And obviously, I'm not saying that people who are disabled can't be in healthy relationships with people who are not disabled, but it's something that you need to consider heavily when you are entering these relationships, because it's very easy for someone to try and use that against you, to wield power over you, or potentially, abuse you or do anything they can to get you to follow along with the type of relationship that they are themselves seeking, without you having much say in it. So those are 2 things I'm concerned about when it comes to the relationship between Asmodeus and Fizzaroli. There's more to it than that. There is the fact that Asmodeus produces and manufactures the mobility aids and the limb replacements that Fizzaroli uses, which is another issue in and of itself when you consider if they decide to break up for whatever reason, if they choose to separate and Fizzaroli needs a limb replacement, and let's say they broke up on really horrible terms and Osmodius absolutely refuses to provide any more replacements to Fizzaroli, then he's stuck. He would have to potentially resort to lower quality items, ones that don't suit him as well, ones that potentially may malfunction and end up hurting him, or he might not be able to find any replacement whatsoever, and therefore be again rendered essentially wholly dependent on another human being, or, another creature of hell. Another thing is that people say, and even in the show themselves, they refer to themselves as business partners.
My partner, business partner.
But that's not entirely true, because they make it very clear that the proceeds from the dolls actually go towards Mammon. Like, it is Mammon's empire. It is him making all of the money. Osmodius produces the robots, Mammon sells them. Fizzaroli likely gets some cutback from it, whether it's royalties or some other paid commission aspect of it, but we don't know that for certain. Knowing Mammon being the literal embodiment of greed, he might have not given Fizzaroli anything. So saying that they might have some equality in their relationship there based off of the business partner aspect is moot. It is not an actual form of equality between the two whatsoever. So there's a wealth disparity, there's a power disparity, and not to mention power, you can see the literal, magical powers that these higher level demons have. They have the capacity to transform, to petrify, to portal, teleport. They have all these abilities, so they can very easily bend other beings to their own will. So there's very clear wealth disparity, very clear power disparity, very clear in terms of aristocratic power, political power. He's the manufacturer of his mobility aids and he's disabled. So these are all very problematic issues that I wanted to bring to light. The thing is, it's still possible for the two of them to have a very healthy and happy relationship. But when you have all of those things working against you, you can't help but wonder whether the relationship was initially built upon mutual love and respect, and whether it will continue that way. It's the same thing when you find out a teacher is dating a former student, or when you find out a boss is dating one of their employees.
Thank God he's my boss, because I would not have said yes to a first date if I didn't have to.
Or a doctor is dating one of their former patients. It is entirely possible that it is a fully healthy, happy relationship, but you will generally squint at it and wonder, was there some usage of power that came into play here?
That power dynamic, which is appropriate in the workplace to a certain degree, is incredibly inappropriate in an actual relationship.
And it's actually considered deeply unethical for doctors to date any of their former patients. There's usually a time frame period where you have 2 or 3 years where you haven't been their patient and haven't been in contact with them before you're allowed to even engage in casual relationships with them, never mind romantic ones. And that's just one power dynamic, never mind the absolute massive pile that Osmodius has against Fizzaroli. So yes, it's entirely possible that they are a very happy couple together, but it's something that you need to be aware of because it's very, very easy for it to go sideways, for there to be any slight change in it that could potentially end in disastrous results. Now, on the topic of it being a very healthy relationship, I actually wanted to discuss that further because I don't know entirely if it is a happy, healthy relationship and whether or not Asmodeus really isn't abusive. And I've been in an abusive relationship. Like, when you think abusive, think every aspect of it. Physically, sexually, emotionally, mentally. And I wanted to, from my experience, highlight some of the issues that I am seeing in their relationship. One of the biggest things to consider when it comes to a potentially manipulative and unhealthy relationship is the way that the couple interacts with each other in private. And the episodes that I'm going to present to you do, in fact, showcase several intimate moments between the couple.
You're still going to that contest rehearsal without me?
Come on, Oz. I can be on my own one day. I can handle it. Come on, Big Daddy. Please.
Just come right back when it's over and keep your phone on you, okay?
It's very clear that Asmodeus isn't one to let Fizzaroli out of his sight. And although that could be chalked up to like him being extremely concerned, very worried, protective, it's difficult to not view it in a very controlling light when Fizzaroli has to literally beg for permission to leave on his own. I don't know about you, but in the healthy relationships I've engaged with, they have told me their concerns, I have acknowledged them and reassured them of what I am doing, and they generally go, okay, I'm still concerned, but I trust you, and that's it. The only times where I have needed to literally beg for permission to do things, to have to feel like I have to persuade, or I've had to feel like I've needed to do anything to try and convince them that I am my own person and able to do things, is when I was in my abusive relationship. Now, one of the things you might want to bring up is the fact that Fizzaroli is disabled. And I want to remind you that disabled doesn't mean a child or a baby. He has his own limbs. We've already established that. His own mechanical limbs. And so he can walk around. He can go about unassisted like a regular adult can. He does not need someone there pampering him, babying him to make sure that he is okay. And there's also another aspect as someone who is disabled that is extremely infuriating, and it's the desire from those who care about you to infantilize you. It's extremely common for disabled people to be infantilized and essentially not be allowed to have your own agency, to make your own decisions, to do your own things. And it's very dangerous, and a part of that comes from the fact that you can essentially teach the people you're trying to take care of learned helplessness, where they will find the world a dangerous place and feel like they are incapable of resolving anything by themselves, where they are wholly dependent on another person. And learned helplessness is something to be concerned about, and it's generally not done intentionally. It's usually done by overprotective parents, but that child, as a result, will be incapable of making their own decisions, of resolving their own problems, of doing anything without assistance, and it's extremely unhealthy. And if you implement learned helplessness on an adult while you are similarly an adult in what's supposed to be an equal partnership, you'll be forcing them to learn to be dependent on you, even if you aren't trying to. So even if this is a healthy relationship, it is a very dangerous game to be playing. Now, unfortunately, although it was proven true that Fizzaroli did run into trouble while he was out and about, the reaction of Osmodius is not a healthy one.
Today I learned that I hate going outside.
You won't have to again.
It is one thing to say, you're going out with guards next time, or for example, like, a celebrity wants to go to Disney, rent out the whole area. Like, those are things that they do to protect themselves. But to immediately go to, you are never leaving again, that's controlling. That is extremely controlling. Not to mention, Fizzaroli's reaction, his face, that is not the face of, I am so happy and safe and comfortable. That is discomfort. That is shame and maybe some sadness. And that tells me, based off of the information that the animators have provided, that Fizzaroli is not entirely happy in this scenario, even when, if it were a healthy relationship, someone might be happy at the response that Osmodius has. Like, if Fizzaroli's like, yeah, I'm never leaving the house again, that's one thing. It's entirely reasonable for someone who has been kidnapped to say, I am afraid of going out. But it's a completely separate thing when your partner says, you are never leaving this house again. Those are two completely different things. Because one is making a decision on your own, and the other one is taking a decision away from someone. So that's extremely dangerous. And another thing that people talk about when it comes to the potential, like, healthy happiness, Osmodius's care for Fizzaroli, is when you look at the way that Fizzaroli interacts with Mammon, because it's very clear that the relationship dynamic between Mammon and Fizzaroli is not healthy. It's very clear that he is utilizing him to an unhealthy degree. He is putting undue pressure on him. It's a very toxic work environment. He is sexualizing him to a degree that is not healthy. I don't even know how much consent there is in that sexualization. Not to mention, yeah, the work pressure to continue performing, and if you don't, then you will be cast aside, essentially, and replaced. And it's very clear. It's very clear that, yes, Fizzaroli sees himself as replaceable, which is very obvious by looking at his replacements in the episode. And when you look at the fact that Osmodius brings up these issues,
I don't like how many creeps you have now thanks to Mammon. And I don't like designing sex toys with your likeness for him. Pretty sure you feel the same.
I just don't think about it. A toy is a toy.
the issues that he brings up are entirely self-serving issues. He doesn't like making the toys, which are going to be used by other people to sexually pleasure themselves, and he doesn't like the thirsty fans. Now, as someone who is both a content creator, performer, and someone who has worked, not in clown work, I've never done clown work, but I've made balloon animals, I've done the whole shebang, I've run in those circles. It is an unfortunate thing, but an expected one. I would call it an occupational hazard to have horny sexual fans. It's not one that I like, it's not one that I condone, it's not something that I support in any way, but it is a side effect of being in the public sphere. And it's not something that can be blamed solely on Mammon. Now, Mammon did exacerbate it by having the sex toys, but you can't blame all of that on Mammon. That was something that does come up just generally as a performer. And the sex toys, Fizzaroli talks about it. He says he's always had those fans, and it's very clear he has had crazed fans even before he had those sex toys. You can see it in the beginning of the episode.
Fizzaroli! Oh man! Your stuff is great! Oh, hey there. I have the best idea for a duo performance between us that should spice up your act. I'm sorry, Fizzy, I'm not normally so aggressive, I promise. I've just waited my whole life for an opportunity like this. With your fame and my raw, undiscovered talent.
So he's always had these crazed fans. He said they're just hornier.
I had to fend off creeps before the robots. I just have thirstier ones now.
He doesn't seem to make it out to be that big of a deal. Now, it's possible that he's just downplaying it, but when you look at other performers out there in our world who have upsold their sexuality, for example, the selling of bathwater, this candle smells like my vagina, sex AI bots that you can make that have been replicated off of women who have consented to this, that's not actually a problem if the person who is producing these or the image is based off of consents to it. So a lot of the issues that Asmodeus has brought up are ones that aren't necessarily like issues in the eyes of Fizzaroli. Not to mention, they are ones that could be viewed through a very possessive lens, which is very common for people who are very controlling of their partners. When they go, oh, I don't like when people are sexualizing you. Oh, I don't like when you're putting yourself out there trying to get their attention. And it's blaming the person who is being sexualized as opposed to the people who are doing the sexualization, who are being the gross deviants. And that's very along the track of, one, victim blaming, and two, it's generally because, oh, you're mine. You are mine to sexualize. You are mine to look at. No one else can look at you. So that's a very possessive, controlling, jealousy thing, which is very, very unhealthy to have in a relationship. And if you wanted to make the argument that Asmodeus really does love and care for Fizzaroli, then he would bring up more than just the sexual aspect of his work. He would bring up how unhappy he seems to be, how much pressure he's facing, how he is overworking himself, how he literally starts shaking in fear at the idea of this performance. He doesn't bring up any of that though. He brings up the things that potentially are affecting him and his ego. And that's something that I think is very clear and is not evidence at all of Asmodeus being a good partner. There is also the aspect that he is concerned about Fizzaroli, and this also kind of feeds into the whole like overprotectiveness, not letting them make their own decisions, is when he talks to Fizzaroli. Fizzaroli says, I've got this, and then Asmodeus then proceeds to go behind his back and recruit his former best friend and try to stop him from continuing on with the path that he's made for himself.
This is for me. I don't want to lose.
Is this Fizz's former bestie, then lifelong enemy, then recent hero, now newly rekindled sort of friend Blitz? I was hoping to have some backup in convincing him that this thing is a waste of time. And Fizz doesn't listen to me when I try to tell him that.
That does not show trust. That does not show willingness to listen. He did not hear anything that Fizzaroli said. He does not trust him. He does not care to hear what he has to say at all. This is not indicative of a healthy relationship. And the thing is, you can look at all of these things that he's doing and you can say like, oh sure, like, but Fizzaroli at the end of the day really likes him. Fizzaroli still loves him. Fizzaroli is still very happy with him. And I just want to show this one clip.
You're with me because of who I am at my best. I'm barely worthy of working with a king of sin because Fizz is who I am.
What Fizzaroli has said is something that is very common for people who are in unhealthy relationships and also people who are disabled. And having been both, I can say a large part of why people stay in unfulfilling and unhappy relationships is because you don't believe that you deserve any better. And it's very common. You can see it on the internet often, actually, when someone gets very clearly mistreated and they say, oh, you don't know him like I do. No, we're very happy. But a large part of it is because they think no one will love me like this person does. even when the way that they love them isn't really love at all. It's very clear that they can't move on and they are happy with what they have because they think that that's all that they'll ever get. And I think Fizzaroli's insecurities and his mentality around his disability really, really strongly play into that. So I do not view the Ozzy Fizzy ship to be healthy in any regard, and I wish that the writers were able to properly convey that. Now, if this is all like a huge setup that later on they're actually gonna break up and Fizzaroli's gonna notice all these things about it, I would love it. But it doesn't seem that way. It seems that the writers are very clearly pushing this big idea of big, strong man who takes care of itty-witty little baby, and you can have that in a relationship, but it's usually in a relationship between partners of equals. Like, if you and your partner are both financially, powerfully, just all the same level, and you go, in the relationship, I want to be coddled and told that I'm a soft little baby and I want you to pick me up and put me in the bed, like, that is okay. But when you are forced into that position as a result of your different circumstances and physical capabilities and financial capabilities, then it's not a choice that you're making, it's a choice that's being made for you. And that's where a large part of the issue comes in. There's another creator, he made a really good video talking about the fetishization of the big, strong, dommy male versus the sad, baby, subby male. Although I am a part of the LGBTQIA community, I am not gay, and so I can't really talk about that. He does a very good job discussing it. I would recommend going over to that video, but those are all of my thoughts. And as someone who is disabled, who's been in an abusive relationship, has also worked in not clown work, but clown adjacent work, works in kind of like a very public facing sphere, it is something that is very important to me, and I want to make it clear that this should not be normalized. This should not be normalized, seen as healthy, or lauded to be the best couple like it tends to be in this community. So that's something I want to discuss. Obviously, if you disagree, I want to hear, be polite about it, or not, I don't care that much. Here's my face, also, you're welcome. I don't plan on wearing clown makeup next time. I don't know how clowns do this. This was so much work. I'm gonna have to take all this off.